In September of this year, I solo canoed the Wolf River in the Yukon territory of Canada. To reach the headwaters, I chartered a floatplane out of Whitehorse and flew deep into the wilderness.
Another fun trip there.
Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.
Wolf Lake lies within the traditional territory of the inland Tlingit, part of Teslin First Nation. They used to travel with dogs along traditional trails and then spent winter here trapping, fishing, and hunting for food. When spring came, they'd build canoes covered in moose hide and paddle down the Wolf River all the way back to Teslin Lake. Stories like that are what inspire me to take on adventures like this, to follow in some way in the footsteps of the people who once lived and traveled here. After a long flight, the pilot touched down on Wolf Lake, the source of the river, and then took off again, leaving me completely alone. The sound of the plane faded, and the silence set in. I had the entire lake to myself.
So I don't really have much info on this river at all, and I'm not really sure what I might be faced with in terms of rapids or where portage trails might be, if any. So I'm gonna have to proceed with caution. Grouse season is open here too, so I'm hoping maybe I get the chance to hunt a little bit of ruffed grouse and spruce grouse and supplement my diet with Arctic grayling and delicious grouse as well. Get my gun loaded up for bear protection. I'm gonna load the first shot with double-aught buckshot and the second two with slugs. I'm not scared of bears right now by any means, but like if I'm gonna lug this gun out for bear protection, I might as well have it at the ready.
The water is crystal clear, and I could see hundreds of Arctic graylings stacked up in the current. Though it felt like it took forever when I finally started casting, the graylings smashed my flies, sometimes leaping completely out of the water. It was pure chaos and pure fun.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, nice. Woo, it's a nice one. That is awesome. Wow, that's a big grayling. That is definitely my biggest grayling on a fly.
Fly fishing for them was way more challenging and exciting than spinning gear, which almost felt too easy in this spot.
First cast. They grow the grayling big around here. This is like one of the biggest grayling I've ever caught. Whoa, that is not a bad looking grayling if I ever saw one. Look at that. Just crazy good fishing. Oh my God, I see what I think is a lake trout. Woo! That is one chunky grayling. Wow, look at how many fish are in here. Holy. Right over here, there are like literally 60 fish. Woo! Look at the size of this grayling. Holy smokes.
I also heard that Wolf Lake held some massive lake trout. So late in the evening, I paddle out in the canoe with heavier tackle, hoping to hook into one.
Okay, well, maybe we can catch a big lake trout. This might be my only chance. I don't know. The weather is amazing today. The weather is not supposed to be good for the next few days. I'm going to be dealing with a lot of rain and maybe wind too. So hopefully I can take advantage of this.
I fished for a while, soaking in the incredible scenery, but couldn't connect. This time of year, early fall, the lake trout are spawning. They gather over shallow rock beds about 3 meters deep. If you find the spawning grounds, it can be some of the best fishing in your life. But if you don't, the lake can seem empty.
Well, that was awesome. Worth getting out there. A little bit of a strange almost. I didn't catch anything, but man, what a freaking day. And it's not over yet. I'm looking forward to a good meal of delicious, fresh caught Yukon Arctic grayling. There we go. That is what you call fresh fish. Amazing first day of the trip. Like, wow. Let's get dropped off. Beautiful flight in. Portage my gear a little ways down the beach and find this perfect spot. Obviously been used by a fly-in fishing or hunting operator, but the best Arctic grayling fishing hole I've ever seen in my life, hands down. Like, this is what you call world-class fishing. I'm gonna finish eating this fish and crawl into bed. Can't wait for tomorrow. Well, it is the morning of day 2. It's about 7. Seems like we got some wind today, and it is a chilly morning, so looks like a new weather system blew in overnight, unfortunately. Got to really enjoy a very cool Northern Lights display last night, so stayed up a bit late checking that out. Almost missed it. I was just about to go to bed, and then saw a little bit of glowing in the sky, and before too long it was pretty freaking spectacular, so that's cool. I brought this puffer. This is the Columbia Titanium Omni Heat Arctic. It's super warm. Great for these cold mornings here. It's not the water resistant one, so I wouldn't want to wear it you know, without a good rain jacket on while it's raining, but man, it's nice and warm. Great to bring on trips like this for these chilly mornings and evenings. Columbia Titanium Omni Heat Arctic. Are they human or are they mergansers? Well, certainly an awesome place to have a coffee. Just watching kingfishers diving over there. I got ducks swimming by, watching a beaver. If only I wasn't freezing my ass off, it'd be great. Got some crowberries here and some crowberries and some cranberries. Well, I don't really know what I'm going to be facing on the river today. I got this new Drysuit. It's a Kokatat Drysuit. Kokatat's the manufacturer, and my old ones had seen a lot of use, and the gasket broke on the wrist, so they actually just gave me a new one for warranty, because I sent it to them and they said it was starting to delaminate. So, but I needed it in a rush, and all they had in my size with the right size booties was red, so I'm not going yellow Drysuit anymore. It's like it's a change of an era. I've been wearing a yellow Drysuit since 2008. Everybody that asks, how do you keep your feet dry all the time? Aren't your feet wet? Oftentimes I'm wearing chest waders or hip waders, and they have neoprene booties built in. These have Gore-Tex socks built into them, so I don't get my feet wet.
The next morning was cold, and before long I was back out on the lake, still searching for lake trout. I fished for as long as I possibly could, but came up empty-handed again. Luckily, the grayling fishing at the outlet more than made up for it. While paddling along the shoreline, I came across the remains of an old log cabin. Inside were handmade snowshoes, a gold pan, and a huge moose rack was lying outside. It felt like a true relic of the old Yukon. It probably explained why the wreck of an old wooden scow that was seemingly hand-built on the lake lay discarded on the shore close to my campsite. It's likely that that old boat is tied to the people who once lived here.
Okay, well, I am finally gonna start paddling the Wolf River.
By the time I finished exploring, I realized I'd fished so long I was already behind schedule. It was time to start making some distance. As I paddled downstream, I quickly discovered that this river was far more spirited than I'd expected. Back-to-back rapids came at me fast, and I had to stay on my toes to dodge the countless boulders in the shallow water. The Wolf River was showing its teeth. Once I got into the rapids, it was clear that the canoe and the setup I had along were working out great. A trip like this doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of logistics and planning before you even touch the water. Before jumping on the Floatplane, I spent a couple of days in Whitehorse getting everything dialed in. And most of the pre-trip prep happened with the help of Up North Adventures. Whitehorse is the hub for almost any backcountry trip in the Yukon. It's where you stock up on gear, food, and supplies, and where most expeditions like this begin and end. Up North Adventures set me up with a canoe I'll be using for the trip, along with an extra dry bag, other gear, and safety equipment. They also let me do some outfitting to my boat in their yard before I headed out. When you're heading into a remote river system like the Wolf, having reliable support like that makes all the difference. It's the kind of behind-the-scenes stuff that keeps a trip like this running smoothly.
So fun to catch them on a fly with the topwater dry flies. You just cast and you watch it float by, and you cast and you just know any second one's gonna jump up. Could be your next cast, could be in 12 casts. Okay, here we go. Bit of a blind corner, but I think we can count on the river not being too fast down there.
I noticed right away that this river felt different from many of the other Yukon rivers I've paddled further north and at higher elevations. The Wolf is much narrower, and the forest around is far denser. You don't see the same big mountain views you get on those alpine rivers. Instead, it had a far more intimate, almost comforting feel to it, despite the relentless whitewater.
Well, this looks like a potential spot to camp. Hopefully there's not like the perfect spot just downriver. I think maybe this will be home for the night. I'm gonna go check it out. Oh yeah, this is the spot for sure.
Unfortunately, I'd barely made 5 kilometers that day. Between all the fishing I did back on Wolf Lake and my decision to stick around and fly fish after being dropped off, I was way behind schedule. To make it to Teslin on time for my shuttle pickup, I'd have to cover around 40 kilometers per day from here on out.
This is my cold steel Hudson Bay axe. It's sort of like a combination between a hatchet and an axe because it's heavier than a hatchet with a longer handle so you can get that good head speed, but lighter than an axe. And it's actually what the Voyageurs used to carry, and it was traded heavily by the Hudson Bay Company. These are Bison sausages. When you bring Bison sausages, these will last for so long out here. If you bring them out frozen, these will last for about 8 days. Jim Baird Adventures Windbound Campfire Pilsner. It's a Pilsner made with slightly smoked barley. It's brewed by Muskoka Brewery, and you can buy it at Muskoka Brewery's Tap House in Bracebridge, or you can buy it in the LCBO stores, liquor stores in Ontario, in Muskoka Brewery's Survival Mixer Pack. I think it's going to pair extremely well with these Bison brats. Very excited. Well, I'm probably going to be eating another one of these. I'm getting to bed just after dark. Get a good night's sleep so I can get an early start on the day. I have about 145 kilometers to paddle in 4 days. I got my Bluetti Elite 30 set up here. I just plugged in some batteries. It's got 2 USB-Cs, 2 USBs, a DC port, 2 AC ports. Doing the kind of stuff I do, I use these portable power banks a lot at my off-grid cabin on my trips, and I have one that is a little bit bigger than the one I had last time. The one I had last time I had to bring on the plane, so it needed to be a little smaller when I did the Natla Keel, but this one I was able to pick up in Whitehorse. I don't know whether it's I might actually be able to bring this one on the plane, but you just have to show them at check-in and get approval from the airline, then they put a sticker on it. But this one I'm liking better because it is larger than the last one I had, and with this rain and overcast weather I'm getting, it's going to be challenging to charge this with solar very much. I'll give it a shot, but I'm not expecting much of a charge if it's going to be raining all day. Anyways, I think the time is now, and I got to make a move here.
So taking a closer look at this campsite, you can see the river screams down a bit of a rapid here and then takes a hard right bend, and the water behind me pushes right up on the bank before it turns hard to the left. There's long stretches on this river which are just no good for camping. So what made this a perfect site? When the glaciers were receding, water levels in the river were much higher, and strong current pushed rocks up like this. And you can actually see just in front of me here another bank that almost directly emulates this bank, and then beyond that another one. So you can see here 3 different levels of river, 3 different tiers where this river came and bent, and I can use that information as I travel down river to get an idea for where there might be a good campsite, because I have no notes on this river. I don't have anything saying from somebody else that's paddled it saying, oh, there's a good site here, a good site there. So if it's getting dark and I think, well, should I push on? If I see a tight bend like this, I'll know that it's likely that there'll be a spot there to camp. So that's why stuff like that is interesting to take into consideration. Thank you, geology, for the lovely campsite.
Day 3. We are on the water. Oh wow, here we go. Here's a freaking rapid here.
Looking ahead at my map, I could see that in the days to come, the river would start to slow down and snake its way through long, winding bends. That meant a lot more paddling if I wanted to keep up my 40K a day.
Nice and slow. Tricky, tricky. Technical, but fun. Well, I'm gonna say that this is a whitewater canoe trip, man. Especially if water levels were higher. Mostly like 1s and 2s though.
Around midday, I paddled through an old burn, a vast stretch of blackened spruce and charred trunks that reached as far as I could see. I pulled the canoe ashore and wandered through it for a while. There's always something a little eerie about walking through an old burn. The silence feels heavier, and the ground is littered with fallen, slivered logs, like bones of an old forest. But at the same time, there's something strangely beautiful about it too. In the northern boreal forest, fire is a natural part of the cycle. These black spruce trees are meant to burn. Fire releases nutrients back into the soil and makes room for new life to take hold. While it feels a bit haunting, it's also a reminder that even destruction has a place out here. The forest always finds a way to start again.
I feel like I should have had a little more time on this one, but we'll see. The river current's fast, and you know, maybe after today I can get a handle on how much time I made, and then decide maybe I can afford to take a bit longer. And then I have another trip immediately after this. So I'm doing back-to-back Yukon trips. A buddy of mine who is a Yukoner, you saw us go deep into the backcountry by snowmobile to a big lake and just smash tank lake trout in the wintertime. That guy has invited me on a moose hunt, and I drew a tag, buddy hunting tag. So I'm gonna essentially go moose hunting with him, and we're gonna work on a new jet boat he's building out of HDPE, the same stuff he builds on a sled. So I'm really hoping that I get the chance to fill the freezer and have good healthy meat for the family for probably about I don't know, almost a full year, depending on how hard we go on it. Well, it's been drizzling on and off, and now it's just kind of picked up enough. Time to put on my rain jacket. This is the Columbia Out Dry Force 12 ODX jacket, and keeps me really warm and dry. I like it because it has these neoprene gaskets around the wrists, so water when it rains doesn't get in there. crazy. 2 down trees, one completely across the river. It's looking like I'm gonna be able to do 40K today, but I don't know, man. Having to push it pretty hard, and now I'm in a stretch of river that's just wide but super shallow and absolutely no good fishing holes anywhere. And I keep getting hung up on gravel bars too and having to hop down them. Oh man. Well, yeah, just because the river's wider obviously doesn't mean it's deeper. Oh man. Oh, are you kidding me? Come on. Oh, glad to be past that. Some water. I was almost a click and a half of that. A little deeper here. Hopefully this keeps up. Now that we have more volume, got some deeper pools again. Hoping the fishing will pick up. I just saw 3 like real chunky grayling. They're swimming that way. Come back! Oh yeah. We're eating tonight. Oh, a good size one too. Look at that. That is a beauty. What a nice grayling.
After a long day of paddling, I finally found a nice campsite on a gravel bar.
Hard to pass up what looks like a decent campsite. I haven't seen many today. And there's an eddy here, so there might be fish. So I walked down the bank a bit. That looks like a honey hole of fish there. Over here, not as big, but it looks pretty good. There's actually a tributary coming in here. Not really any flow to it. It's pretty much dry. But I think what I'm gonna do, I walked down the gravel bar. I think what I'm gonna float down to here and set up on this side, closer to the good fishing hole. And yeah, I think this is it. This is home for the night. Funny wolf prints. We are on the Wolf River, I suppose. There's a big old wolf print. Look at the size of that. It's like wider than my fingers. One good thing about camping on these gravel bars, there's tons of driftwood everywhere, so I don't need to go searching for firewood and saw stuff up. I can usually just burn long pieces of wood and burn them in half, and you don't even need to use the saw or the axe for the most part. That's always nice.
The grayling were eager to bite just offshore, and I spent a good while casting a floating dry fly into the current. They were hitting hard, and it was a blast.
This is like the first little one I've caught since I've been here. That one's a little bigger. Feel a lot bigger when you're fighting them up the current like that. Yeah. Oh, that's a nice one. Gotta fight them up the current here. Woo! Oh man, this is so fun. Fly fishing for Arctic grayling. Well, there's dinner. Better get to cooking. Gotta set up camp. Get a fish stew going, but that was a lot of fun though.
In September in the north, You don't have the luxury of the midnight sun like you do in early summer anymore. By 8:30, it's pitch black. So after keeping a couple fish, I stayed up well after dark, cooking up a Grayling stew over the fire. I brought a few fancy spices along as a treat, and I made the stew with potato, carrots, and onions that I cooked up in a frying pan on the side. It smelled incredible, and it tasted even better. To save time and not waste any meat, I threw in whole chunks of Grayling instead of filleting them first. I figured I'd just pick out the bones as I ate. That plan worked fine until I bit down the wrong way on a bone. That one bite, though, sent a bolt of pain straight through my jaw. I took some painkillers I'd packed, finished my meal, and crawled into my tent, but my tooth kept bothering me for the rest of the trip, flaring up at random times. Looking ahead at my map, I could see that in the days to come, the river would start to slow down and snake its way through long, winding bends. That meant a lot more paddling if I wanted to keep up my 40K a day. At the same time, those slow meandering stretches and the swampier country surrounding them looked like prime moose habitat. I was really hoping I'd catch a glimpse at one of these massive, powerful animals along the way.
I'm gonna just pack up and head out into the driving rain. That's the plan today, and just paddle, paddle, paddle.
Yes, we're on the water. Took me 2 hours and 15 minutes to break camp, which I guess isn't too bad. And the clouds are clearing up, which is really good for morale. We'll see if the spinning rod can do any better in this spot. Oh yeah, oh yeah, that was a beauty Grayling right there. There she is. This is a serene dream right now. I'll take some days of bad weather and cold for mornings like this. Wow. Starting to get worried this morning. It's just gonna rain all day. And just as soon as I get on the water, it gets beautiful out. It gets an action on my fly rod. Land a beauty Arctic Grayling. This here, I could see from the drone this morning, is an oxbow lake off to my right. Wow, this is just beautiful, deep, clear water. Yeah, so you could actually paddle around in this huge loop. And the river actually used to go that way, but as it went around this bend and as it slowly over the years built up enough sediment at the mouth of this big oxbow, it just redirected the river to go this way. Well, I haven't made it very far, but I just passed over a school of what looked like whitefish. And they get bigger than Grayling too. If I catch a whitefish, I'm keeping it.
but I don't see any now. Bummer.
Well, there's where the oxbow comes back in. You can see there's a big pile up there, but no current coming out, so it's slowly becoming its own separate lake. Gonna see if I can't sneak up on these swans, get a shot of them. So I'm just gonna pull over up here and pull out my lunch and then continue on downriver. But yeah, I see a lot of beaver activity along the banks here again today, which is cool. At this time of year, the beavers are extra busy getting ready for winter. And what they're doing is they're building up their winter store piles by going and biting off shoots, willow, poplar, stuff like that. Like this stuff we see along here. Essentially just bark of deciduous trees and shrubs. And they're getting those little sticks and they're piling them up in calm spots of the river so that they can access them under the ice after the river freezes up. And if they don't get enough, well, they'll have an issue over the winter. So I see a lot of beaver trails coming down into the river, a lot of drag marks where they've been dragging branches and stuff like that down. And at the same time, I think the wolves don't mind fattening up for the winter either. And a beaver, there's a lot of fat on a beaver, so that's a great thing to get if you're a bear or you're a wolf. So the wolves know that this is a time when the beavers are out of the water getting food, and the wolves are trotting along the bank, following those beaver trails down to the water, seeing if there's a beaver at the end and maybe waiting for one, because a beaver is a great meal for a wolf and they're pretty good at getting them too. So it's just kind of cool. I mean, it is called the Wolf River after all, so maybe I'll see one. We'll see. I feel like this is probably one of the best times to see a wolf because they're down on the river trying to eat beavers. Well, making decent time. The current slowed though, and I just flipped over my map. There's a huge lake called Fish Lake, not even a click into the bush that way. Yeah, so I feel like this would be a pretty good area to see a moose through here over the next 10K. Oh, the map was upside down. Fish Lake is actually that way, and it'll be on my left. That's a cow call. I'm hoping as I travel through here, maybe I can call a moose. It's still maybe a little early for them to come to calls. Sort of like after the pre-rut right now. Well, just coming around a bend and I saw a perfect deep, slow moving spot. Took a cast and immediately hooked into this beautiful Arctic grayling. Look at that. I'm gonna keep that one for dinner. Oh man, they're crazy in here. Absolute beauty. Look at that. Any spot like this where the river comes around a big corner and the current slows down, even if there's not really a back eddy, just seems to be a good spot for fish. Well, it is 20 after 1 in the afternoon right now. So I have the rest of today and 2 more days to do 105 kilometers, which sounds pretty intense, to be honest with you. Because I have a portage in there, and then I have Teslin Lake to paddle, which there's no current and there could be wind. Some beautiful mountain views here. The mountains are stepped back a bit from the river, but they come up right to the base of Fish Lake, which is just a few hundred meters in the bush to my left. And I'm right in between 30-mile range and Englishman's range. And essentially this river splits those two mountain ranges. Direction of the river, but I am struggling against headwinds. I should be going way faster, and it's just been like this for a long time now, so I think I have to accept that I'm not going to make it as far as I thought unless this wind dies like immediately. But it's crazy, man. It's like really gusting, easily 55 km/h gusts, and a good sustained wind as well. Every time I'm a little bit exposed to it, I just slow down to a snail's pace, and I use up a lot of energy. We got white caps forming here. Fortunately, the current's still carrying me to some extent. I'm not blowing back upriver, but I have to paddle hard on these stretches. We're looking to do about 7 more K. Probably will be like 7 p.m. by the time I get to where I want to camp. Well, then you go through stretches like this where you don't even know it's a windy day hardly. I think I just saw like a grayling this big. Maybe it was a whitefish. I'm not sure if there's whitefish down here, but I wouldn't doubt it because I definitely saw some at the outflow of the lake.
At one point, I spotted a cow moose in the shallows near the bank. Her back was turned to me, and I managed to float in surprisingly close before she noticed me. When she finally noticed me, I was close, and as I got even closer, she startled and then leapt straight into the river right in front of my canoe and splashed water all over my canoe as she swam to the far side of the river. Climbing out on the opposite bank, she turned and looked back at me, almost as if to say, "Who are you? And how on earth did you sneak up on me like that?" I'd never intentionally get that close to a cow with calves or a bull at this time of year. That's just asking for trouble. But in this case, it was an incredible couple moments to witness the moose up close like this.
Well, I'm just stopping to check where I am here. And I noticed it's 7. Oh my God. It's gonna be dark in an hour, but I've paddled past kilometer 75, exactly where I thought. So I'm just gonna take the next decent looking place to camp. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's much around here. Back before, there's a whole ton of good looking spots, gravel bars. Now we're out of that. So hopefully I don't end up having to camp in like a garbage thicket, like, and have to fight beavers. Well, just looking at my map, I see some islands about 2 kilometers away, and there might be a gravel bar on one side of them anyways, and that might be my only hope here. Well, there might be something I can work with here. It's hilarious though, borderline dangerous. If it rains, I'm gonna get flooded out, but oh well. It's probably about 8 o'clock right now, so I gotta make a decision. Oh man. Well, this is where I'm camping. Against my better judgment. I figured up here is a little more elevated than down here, but it should be okay.
The wind howled as I set up my tent. I had to wade across a shallow channel to tie my canoe to a tree on shore. Then I flipped it on its side and used a paddle to prop it up. This way, I could use the canoe as a windbreak for my stove. There was no firewood anywhere, so I cooked my fish on the stove, crouched in the shelter of my canoe as the gusts tore through the river valley. It wasn't the most comfortable night, but it was one of those moments that reminds you, trips like this aren't always easy, but they sure are real.
So I have 70 kilometers left to go. Tomorrow I have the portage and the Whitewater picks up again. So I'll probably see by midday tomorrow if I can make it to my scheduled pickup on time. I know I can. It's just stupid to just push yourself. You know, like look at where I ended up camping. You know, like it can get dangerous, especially at this time of year when you can get cold weather and stuff and lots of rain. I still have a buffer day between now and the next trip I'm going to be doing in the Yukon with a buddy. So yeah, we'll see how we do tomorrow. And then of course if I'm windbound on Teslin Lake, well, that's going to be an issue. So well, I'm going to turn in. Tomorrow's another day, but tomorrow should be back into some action. We're going to see a waterfall. Imagine the fishing at the base of the fall is going to be epic. There's going to be some whitewater rapids and who knows what else. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it has to hold.
Well, it is the morning of day 5. Got my work cut out for me today, so I better get to it.
Nailed it this morning. Perfect hotness, perfect amount of grinds, perfect time sitting, perfect amount of creamer. Cheers. Well, I guess this campsite didn't turn out to be too bad. I got a decent sleep, but I just woke up with driving pain in my tooth there. Just weird thing that happened. I just bit down on something wrong. I knew I'd lost a filling there. It should have been fine. I went to see a doctor before. I talked to a dentist as well before I left. And they're like, oh yeah, it should be fine. But then, you know, that's not taking into account the fact that I just bit down on something really hard the wrong way. And now it's like really painful. So I'm gonna have to tough it out, man. Plus I have a super challenging back-to-back couple of days. Not far downriver I have a portage, probably a rapid today too, or definitely a rapid, and then a lot of hard paddling, and then the last stretch there's just like stacked rapids again. Probably not as intense as the beginning, not as long, but it looks like they might be more challenging. And then of course I have a bit on the Nisutlin River and then Teslin Lake tomorrow. Day 5. Could have gotten an earlier start considering how much I have to beast mode, but I lost a lot of sleep last night due to the pain in my tooth. So it also doesn't get bright out until 7 a.m. Coming up to English Creek. Might be a decent spot to fish, I don't know. There we go. Got one. What do we have here? Oh my god. Oh my god. This, I think, might be my personal best grayling. Boom! Yeah! Woo! Look at the size of this grayling, baby. Good look at that fish. Whoa! Oh. Well, I'm gonna let him go. Wow, that is huge. What a fish. I wanted to make sure my hands were wet. I was gonna let him go, and I didn't want to put my finger in his gill, because grayling, they don't have any distance between the gill plate and the actual gill. So if you try to hold them like this, they can die. So yeah, personal best grayling. That was huge. Are you kidding me?
Not long into the day, I spotted a young bull moose. I kept my distance this time. It seemed a little aggressive.
That's one cool thing about getting on the water a little earlier and staying on the water a little later, is you see more wildlife. And that was really cool, because I was watching a beaver and a moose at the same time, and I think I got the beaver slapping its tail in the same frame as the moose standing in the bushes over there. It's still there. Now it's trotting away. Now that it heard me talk, couldn't really see it anymore, and I just saw it run once it heard my voice.
Soon after, then a cow with 2 calves wading across the river. I felt so lucky to witness them.
Beautiful, beautiful country through here. See the rocky outcrops up in the peaks. Definite stone sheep habitat up there. They do come down to the river. With any luck, I'll see one of those too.
Wolves. That's why they call it the Wolf River.
Well, as I rounded the corner and the wind came into my face, is when I heard the call. And it seemed like more of a nervous sounding call than other ones I've heard. So I actually think that wolf caught wind of me.
Downwind of me, this wolf came walking upriver. It blended in so well. At first it was staring at me. At first when I saw it, I was paddling and I just thought it was a log or something. But I think it was looking at me for a while before I even saw it.
It
was the craziest thing. I saw that wolf in my head before I saw it with my eyes. Same color and everything. I must have just seen it and it only subconsciously registered at first. But it was just like I imagined something and then it just appeared. These are some of the reasons why wolves get compared to phantoms. And I had the feeling something was staring at me. I think it was looking at me for a long time, and I looked back downriver over my shoulder. Wild. What an experience. Interesting differences between a fall trip and a summer trip. Typically I'm doing summer canoe trips in the Yukon, and you see some different cool stuff in the fall, like probably that wolf. If it wasn't for them maybe looking for beaver seed, as the beavers are, you know, cutting shoots to add to their winter storepiles, I might not have seen that in the summer. That was a mink I just saw, and it's definitely running along the banks looking to try to kill muskrat, even though muskrat way more than a mink. Mink are good at killing them, and a couple times I've heard like a splash close to shore, and I thought, is that a fish? What was that? Like, it's too small to be a beaver. Well, it turns out they were muskrats, and I actually saw one. I think maybe they have little dens in the bank just like beavers do. Oftentimes beavers or bank beavers, and they'll dig into the bank and make a lodge sort of in a root ball of a tree. And actually sometimes they'll allow muskrat to come in, and in the winter there'll be muskrat and beaver in the lodge, and muskrat will kind of clean up for the beaver. It's an interesting relationship. But yeah, often at this time of year when the muskrat are getting ready for winter, you'll see mink cruising along the banks of a river, thinking about ways that they could catch one and eat it. Just watching what I believe was a peregrine falcon. Fairly rare bird. I couldn't tell, but it might have been banded, which is even rarer. I think they're the world's fastest bird for diving speed. So I have 40 kilometers left to my takeout. My takeout is within striking distance. About 25 kilometers to the Nisutlin River. The river's picking up, and the last 5K or 7K that I really need to do today, but I'm thinking I'm gonna push on, maybe camp on the portage trail, or I don't know, maybe even finish it to put the portage behind me. That would be amazing. However, I still have 5K to go, so we'll see how we're feeling there. The current's picked up a lot. There's not as many bends, and the current picking up tells me that the river's starting to drop more, aka a waterfall and rapids, including a class 3. I'll need to take some time to scout and do some prep before I run class 3, that's for sure. Maybe put my Drysuit top on as well. But we'll see. I mean, at these levels, at this time of year, it might only be a 2 or a very bouldery 3, I'm not sure. But it's looking like it might be a sketchy distance above the waterfall. So that means if you dump, there's a good chance you get washed down the waterfall. And with nobody out here to hit me with a throw bag from shore and help me rescue, it's all self-rescuing. So it might not be a smart idea to try to run a class 3 above a waterfall. It looks like it might be pushy right up to where a contour line crosses the river, and there's a marked rapid. So, you know, I'm thinking that might be the falls. So I'm probably about 500 meters away from it right now. Oh yeah, it just keeps going. And that looks like an intense rapid up there. So yeah, pushy current right into the rapid. Might be able to run this, but I want to take a peek just because I can't see it.
Yeah, so this is the waterfall. You've probably seen me run some stuff that looks crazier than this, but this is not runnable because of those huge frothing aerated holes. No way that you wouldn't flip. Well, I'm thinking I could probably line this whole thing and I don't even have to portage. It's a little sketchy to run, but yeah, I'll bust out a long rope and line it on the left. Well, that did not go quite as planned. When I tried to push it, I tried to hit the V, but I didn't push the canoe perfectly down straight to hit the tongue, and it hit like the reactionary curling boil. Wanted to flip, got pulled back in. It all would have been okay though if I had run up on top of the cliff quickly and pulled it out of there, but I slipped and was squabbling around on slippery rocks, not going anywhere. But when I climbed up, I pulled it down and the canoe didn't flip. I got a bailer out, but all's well that ends well. I'm not sure I'd do it again, but I'm happy that I did do it because I just saved a ton of time and energy. So it's about 6:45, 10 to 7 right now maybe. But with the clear skies, it's gonna stay light a little longer than yesterday. So I'm gonna try to just get all the whitewater behind me. That looks like something up there. Maybe a bigger rapid. Maybe I can get over on the left though and scout. Better scout this one. Well, it looks like this is the waterfall, not what I just lined back there. I'm gonna have to front ferry over to the other side of the river. Looks like I'm gonna be camping at the waterfall after all. I just went and scouted out the portage thinking maybe there'd be a better spot to camp at the base of the trail. I mean, when you say trail, that's iffy if there is one, because it's sort of just like down trees. A fire came through here and just burnt everything. There's just crisscross down trees everywhere. But there's a sneak route where you can just like go straight down a steep, sketchy hill and put in right at the base of the falls. And then you got to run what looks like hopefully only a class 2 afterwards. So that's what I'm gonna do, because there's no way I'm walking through this. This is hell. Here I was saying, oh, I'm not gonna rush, and pushed it late in the evening. My understanding was there was a class 3 above the waterfall and only one portage. So I just got some, obviously not the best info from a guy who did it years ago, but so I thought the first one that I lined was the waterfall. I thought, oh, this isn't a big deal. Well, no, this is the waterfall. So as I came down river from that, I had to line this other one, which I wasn't expecting. I said, well, maybe this is the class 3. And as soon as I got around the corner, it was a waterfall. I was on the wrong side of the river. So I had to front ferry across the river really hard at the brink of a falls through strong current. Fortunately, it's not something that, you know, it's a move that I've done many times, but like, yeah, that's a pretty advanced level maneuver. So, yeah, it didn't work out quite like I thought it had, unfortunately. But one good thing is the falls is actually further downriver than I'd anticipated. So I've made it another 5K. So I'm past where I needed to get. And camping at the portage means that I only have to unload and reload the boat once. If I was camping then portaging, I have to unload and reload twice. So camping at the portage is a bit of a cheat. Anyways, this is gonna be home for the night. I got a nice chunky grayling to eat. Probably do a little side of something there, some baked beans or something, and try to get in bed relatively early tonight so I can, you know, I got a portage and 10K of lake paddling on a huge lake. So I got my work cut out for me tomorrow. Appetizer here. Smoked mussels. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jim, you got enough mussels as it is. But this is a little treat. I always try to bring 1 or 2 of these on a trip. What an epic day today was. Saw 6 moose, called in a wolf after hearing them howl. Didn't just get a fleeting glimpse at it, stared at it eye to eye for a long time. Caught my personal best Arctic grayling on the fly and just paddled through epic mountain scenery, and it was a pretty beautiful day in the end too. And now I'm camped by a gorgeous waterfall. There it is, meal fit for a king.
That night, while cooking fish over the fire, the sky erupted with another spectacular Northern Lights display. This is what dreams are made of.
It is the last day, hopefully, of the trip. I just got to pack up my sleeping bag and everything, and I'm starting the day with a portage to get around this falls. It's not long, but it's pretty treacherous because it's very, very steep downhill to the put-in, and then after that I have what looks like a pretty challenging rapid that I can't really scout. So day's starting off pretty interesting. I know that mac and cheese is an odd choice for breakfast. However, this one granola wasn't enough. I'm out of oatmeal. There's the mac and cheese. And the only other breakfast item I have is pancakes, which is too time consuming. So I'm gonna eat this granola and then I'm gonna eat the mac and cheese. So yesterday was the second time in my life that I've called in a wolf. The first time was even more amazing, although I didn't get as long as a look at it. But I was on the Northwest Territories Canoe Trail, and there's wolves howling all around. And so I started howling and I walked into the woods, and a wolf came up out of the bush probably about 6 feet away from me. 6 freaking feet away from me, and then just saw what I was and vanished, just a young wolf. And I was like, look at that! And my buddy was there with the video camera but never caught it, but it was really cool. And that's where I'm going, to Portaging, right down there. Rapids around the corner. Oh, you can see all the high grass around, and it's all beat down right there. That's where a moose bed down.
Paddling at the base of the falls was awesome, but my focus immediately shifted to the Whitewater rapid below. Luckily, I was able to skirt it on the far left without really hitting any big waves, but not without dodging a pretty sketchy rock, which got my adrenaline pumping as I hit it. But fortunately, I managed to keep the canoe upright by bracing hard.
Kind of hard not to hit something there. Big boulder in the middle. Oh yeah, this is tricky. Woo! Woo! Yeah, baby. Solid class 2. Whoa! Didn't see that one. Oh man. Well, the river's been going like this for a ways, so I didn't think it was going to be this quick current-wise. I have probably about 25K to go total. It's all going to depend about the wind on Teslin Lake. And I'll be meeting up with the Nisutlin River in about 15K. So I'm looking forward to experiencing a bit of the Nisutlin River. It's a beautiful river too. Well, here it is, folks. I just reached the Nisutlin River. Yes! Here is the Nisutlin. The mouth of the wolf is here. And this is the Nisutlin River. Wow, the Wolf River was amazing. I feel like it's called the Wolf River because of wolves. I saw wolves, and I think those wolves are there in the late summer and fall because of all the beavers, which has to do with the winding back eddies. And then the beavers are building dams off the river, and there's slow stretches of the river, which is one of the reasons why there's so many moose. So what an awesome intact ecosystem. Giant Arctic grayling. Would have liked to have a bit more time, but you know what, having that challenge and completing it, it feels good if I finish it, that is. And all in, yeah, I think the Wolf River was pretty special, but the trip's far from over. Still got a ways to make it here on the Nisutlin and then Teslin Lake. But goodbye, Wolf River. You were good to me. You're a magical, wonderful place.
As I neared the final stretches of river travel before Teslin Lake, the wind picked up again, and I realized crossing the massive lake by canoe could be impossible. That's when I heard a jet boat approaching. The driver slowed alongside me and explained the conditions on the lake. Big whitecaps and strong winds would make paddling impossible, and I likely wouldn't reach the community of Teslin in time for my shuttle the next morning. It turned out the driver and his mom were heading upriver with supplies, and I asked if they might be able to give me a ride across the big lake. He said, yeah, probably, and I continued, waiting out at one of the small islands at the river's mouth. From the island, I could really feel the wind, and I got a view out to the big lake where I saw large white caps breaking, and I could see that traveling by canoe wasn't an option. It wasn't long until the boat returned, and I loaded all my gear and canoe aboard, happy to have an engine helping me cover the final 9 kilometers across Teslin Lake. I wished I'd had more time to do the trip, but thinking back, day 5 alone had been one of the most epic days of river travel I've ever had. And the fact that I was able to meet the challenges I faced made the trip feel even more rewarding. From Teslin, I'd head back to Whitehorse to help my friend Ryan complete a unique boat he was building. Once the boat was finished, Ryan and I would return to the Yukon wilderness together, this time on a moose hunt.